Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. FPL Consult here, and in today's video I'm going to share with you guys my final thoughts with regards to my own team selection as well as a final wildcard draft at the end of the video for those of you on a wildcard. So hopefully you guys do enjoy this one, and if you do, please drop a like and also subscribe as well if you are new around here. So let's jump straight into the video and I'll talk about my Gameweek 34 scores first. I played the free hit in Gameweek 34. And I scored 128 points with a rank jump into the top 100k. Now I'm currently sitting at 92k. So I'm very pleased with how the free hit turned out. I think no one really expected that Gameweek 34 would be such a huge swing in rank for those who free hit versus those who didn't free hit. That's not to say that those who did not have a free hit did poorly. I think I still saw some teams without a free hit that scored even higher than me. So I think in general, what I would say is no one really expected Gameweek 34 to bring such a huge swing, and I think largely due to the players that were popular free hit picks doing very well. I got a couple of these picks correct. I also got a couple of other predictions wrong. The ones that I got wrong, I would say, is Gabriel and Havertz starting both games in Gameweek 34. And Havertz, of course, scoring 2 goals against Chelsea meant that he got a double-digit haul. Gabriel as well started both and played the full 90 minutes in both. So basically, he also kept a clean sheet in both games. So I called those wrong. I hold my hands up and say that I did not expect them to start both games. I think moving forward, we can kind of feel that the minutes are very secure now, because despite them playing so many minutes previously in Europe whatsoever, they still started both games in quick succession. So I doubt their minutes would be under threat. In terms of Gameweek 34 picks that did really well, that I'm happy I went for, I think Ben White is someone that I could have gone for Gabriel instead of Ben White, but I chose to go Ben White to be a slightly different, and I think his attacking threat was still decent as compared to Gabriel. Somehow he got 2 goals. I think the nature of the 2 goals kind of showed that it was a little bit lucky there. So for those who went for Gabriel instead of White, there was a bit of a point difference there, but I guess that's how variance works sometimes. And at the end, I think there's not too much difference for those who went double Arsenal defense versus double Arsenal attack, because whether you went for Havertz or Odegaard as your third Arsenal player, you still did really well because they all returned in this double game week. So that's the good thing about the Arsenal players. For the Crystal Palace players, Eze, Mateta all did really well. Olise also walked away with a double-digit haul for those who went triple Palace attack. Mitchell got 6 points, but that's because he kept a clean sheet against Newcastle, which no one really expected. So I think in general what I would say is that the way the results fell for double game week 34 was just very favorable for those who were on a free hit, and I think that's kind of why it brought such a huge rank swing. But that being said, I think there are still a lot of double game weeks coming up. There's 35 now that we are kind of dealing with. There's 37, which is a very big double game week left as well. So there's a lot of ground to be made up still. There's a lot of opportunity. So what I would say is that for those of you guys who did not do very well in game week 34, don't be disheartened, because there is so much more rank to be made up in these last few game weeks. So there we go with my game week 34 scores. I'm pretty happy with where I am right now. Let's see how I'm going to deal with game week 35 moving into this game week. So this is my team for Gameweek 35 as it stands. I have not made any transfers yet, but as it stands with my current transfer plans, I am looking at a -8, so that's 3 transfers for the -8, and I'm likely to remove Salah, Tony and Udogie for Gordon, Isak and Shah. So I'm bringing in 3 Newcastle players. These players could change. I think Isak is the only one that is nailed on, locked in for me to make that move from Tony to Isak. But for the other 2, Gordon and Shah, I haven't confirmed it yet. I think it could be different players depending on how I feel closer to the deadline. And I'll discuss the other options I'm considering as well. So the first move, again, as I mentioned, that's locked in is Tony to Isak. For the Salah move, the reason why I have to sell Salah, or why I'm inclined to sell him, because by selling him, I free up a lot of funds for future moves. When I want to make a transfer in 36 or 37, I don't have to have any money constraints. And I don't think that Salah is performing really well at the moment. He is looking way below par. And on top of that, he plays West Ham. Yes, West Ham have been conceding a lot of goals recently, but Salah's form just really worries me. So I really think Salah is just someone that I don't want to hold on to, though he could be a differential because everyone is looking to sell him. He's likely going to drop in price as well. But I think he's a differential that I rather sell than Saka. because it's between Saka and selling Saka or Salah. And at this point in time, I definitely think that Arsenal are in way better form than Liverpool, especially now since it seems like the title hopes are over for them. I'm not sure how they're going to perform, whether it's going to affect their confidence whatsoever. So I'd rather release the funds from Salah, sell him to Gordon. Now, Gordon is not the only option that I considered. I think going to Foden is also a decent consideration. Going to even Bruno Fernandes is also something that crossed my mind as well. But for now, I cannot look past the Gordon versus Sheffield game, because Gordon, as we know this whole season, does really well at home. So he's someone that I think is the most likely replacement for Salah that I'd be going for. And that frees up a lot of money, right? And in terms of Udogie replacements that I have to sell because Udogie is not fit, he's definitely a transfer waiting to happen. So I brought forward this move, upgrade Udogie to Fabian Schär. Now I much prefer Fabian Schär to Dan Burn because Fabian Schär's attacking threat is just so much better. And the reason why I had to make a defensive move this week is because previously I was going to play Gusto, but Gusto now is training separately is what we hear from the team. He's kind of slowly coming back from injury, but not fast enough for the Villa game nor the Spurs game. And word is that he will only be back in time for the West Ham game in Gameweek 36. So because of that, he's a risk, and I do need someone to come in for in defense for me. So that's Fabian Schär. And then also something to consider as well is that Erling Haaland is yellow flagged right now. He is nursing a bit of an injury. He wasn't even in the squad for game week 34, right, when Man City won Brighton 4-0, right? So that's a bit worrying, and I think there is a good chance that he misses out. I mean, we'll see what Pep says. Whether or not he gives away a lot, I don't think we'll kind of get a conclusive word from Pep. But in any case, if Haaland misses out, I have a decent first bench option in Reguilon who can come in for Haaland if anything does happen. So that's kind of why I'm kind of forced to make these three transfers, so that at least the first bench option is a decent one as well. So that's pretty much the thinking behind my transfers. And also for captaincy, I don't think it's that much of a discussion this week, because I do think that a lot of people would be captaining Cole Palmer because he's back in training now. He should be fit and ready to start both games for Chelsea in the double. So there we go. Let me know what you think of the transfers. It's by no means locked in. I think even Fabian Schär could be someone like a Kyle Walker or Vardiol if I decide to just go for a Man City player there. So let me know what you think, what transfers you would make. But for now, as it stands, this is my Game Week 35 team. Until the Game Week 35 deadline stream, where if I decide to make some transfers, I'll make it on the stream. Some changes, I'll make it on the stream as well for you guys to see. But there we go. And let's take a look now at the Game Week 35 wildcard draft that I put together after all the news has come out, all the games have been played for 34, and my final draft thoughts. So this is my final Game Week 35 wildcard that I would go with if I was in a wildcard for Game Week 35. It's a 15-man squad that I finally ended up with after much tinkering for you guys on the wildcard. The team value is 103.2 million. It's rather expensive, so for those of you guys who aren't able to afford some players, you can downgrade them. But by now, I think your team value has accumulated quite a bit already. So I think 103.2 million should be attainable for those of you guys on a wildcard. So instead of discussing this draft individually for all the different players, what I'd rather do is talk about the differences between this draft and the template that has been circulating around. The template is pretty much set for Game Week 35, but I want to discuss the differences that I've gone for here and why I've chosen to go a bit different from the template. So I'll discuss the forwards first. So Haaland and Isak are definitely a lock. Haaland is yellow flagged right now. I should have changed the graphic, but he is yellow flagged. He is still someone I would have on a Game Week 35 wildcard and hope that he is ready for Game Week 37 when he doubles, because I don't think the injury keeps him out for so long. The news that of what we heard is that he's not too far away. So he's still a lock on the wildcard, and so is Alexander Isak with a double in 37 and good fixtures for 35 and 36 as well. He's definitely staying. The third forward spot is where I've gone different. Not usually, but majority of the drafts that I've seen have gone for Nicholas Jackson here. I simply cannot bring myself to have Nicholas Jackson in the draft, despite him having a double in Game Week 35 and 37. I really think that he is someone that people are going for simply because he doubles. But in terms of the form, in terms of his form the whole season, as well as Chelsea's form of late, I really don't think that Nicholas Jackson is someone that's going to hurt your rank so much if you don't have him. So I think that is where you could go different. And the player that I've chosen to go with is Rasmus Højlund, with good fixtures in 35 as well as 36. If somehow Nicholas Jackson pops off, you could always make the move from Højlund to Jackson come game week 37. So I'd rather start with Højlund here, and obviously if what we predict happens where Jackson continues to blank, then keeping Højlund for the double in 37 is not the worst thing in the world as well. Alright, so then we go to the midfield. I think Fernandes, Foden, Son and Palmer are pretty much standard players you would have in the team. I think they justify themselves, so I won't speak about them too much. For Johnson at 5.8 million, the reason why I've gone for him instead of Anthony Gordon here is because I would rather go for a double Spurs attack than a double Spurs defense. So the only defender that I have from Tottenham is Pedro Porro, who is yellow flagged right now, but the news that we hear is that he should recover in time for the double in Game Week 35. We will get more news from Postecoglou closer to the deadline after the press conferences, but I think I'd much rather go for double Spurs attack than defense. And obviously Johnson, his stats for the past few game weeks, he has started every single game. He may come off early, but he will start the games, and he has returned pretty consistently as well. He is generally the player that either creates the chances or is the one on the end of the crosses from the other wing, whether it's Werner crossing to him. I think in general, Johnson is just a player that I really think could be a good differential, and at 5.8 he kind of enables the other players that we're going for as well. What I would say about Johnson is that we are really comparing here between Anthony Gordon and him for this spot, because a lot of the other drafts will have Anthony Gordon here for good reason, because Gordon plays Sheffield now, great fixture, etc., and he doubles in 37 as well. But I just think that Gordon can be covered with double Newcastle defense if I was on a wild card. So I've chosen to compromise a bit there, go for the double Spurs attack, and then have double Newcastle defense to try and cover Anthony Gordon, who I think will still return, but the hope is that Johnson plus someone like Burn can cover another Spurs defender like a Vicario. I say Vicario because I view the 7 defensive picks as pretty much the same. So someone like a Vicario, who I doubt is going to get many clean sheets in the last few in the run-in, plus an Anthony Gordon. I think it won't be too dissimilar, the scores. So I'd rather take the chances here, go for Johnson, and then Burn and Shah as the Newcastle double up for defense. So that's the thinking behind the midfield picks, as well as the 2 Newcastle defenders there. Porro, I think if he's fit, he's the only one I would consider, aside from Vicario, but I very much prefer Porro for his attacking threat as a defensive option from Tottenham. Now for Maguire and Gabriel, I'll talk about Maguire first. He is the third spot that I've gone for Manchester United. He is a defender, 4.2 million. Everyone's gone for Dalot. I've chosen to go for Maguire because of late I like his attacking threat. And the supply in from crosses, whether it's set pieces, free kicks or corners, I just really like the quality of the delivery of late. And I think Maguire has shown himself to be a very good hitter of the ball. He's kind of like the biggest threat from set pieces for Manchester United. And I think that is what I'd rather go for as compared to paying so much more for Diogo Dalot, who is at, I think, 5.1 or 5.2 million. It's a lot more expensive, and I think the attacking threat is just not so much greater than Maguire's. So I've chosen to go for Maguire here as the third United option. For Gabriel, the thinking behind him is I think you would still want to have Arsenal players, especially for the Game Week 36 game where they play Bournemouth at home. So I think Gabriel here kind of acts as a defensive coverage for those of you. I guess he's a bit of a rank protector as well, because you don't want to go too different from what other players who aren't on a wild card have right now. He's kind of a stabilizer. I think having him in the team would enable you to just protect a little bit of rank compared to those who already have Arsenal players. And of course, having Arsenal players is really not the worst thing in the world. Some people are even having 2 Arsenal players in their drafts because they really like the look of Arsenal going into the run-in. And I really think that Arsenal challenging for the title, being an elite defense, I do see Gabriel keeping a number of clean sheets for the last few games. So perfectly fine to have him here at 5.4. I think Ben White is slightly more expensive. If I could and I had the money to go for Ben White, I definitely would go for Ben White ahead of Gabriel. But yeah, that's the defense. And in goal, I've chosen to go for Ederson and Petrovic. Now, Ederson covers the Man City defense, so he is the third player from Man City that I've chosen to go for. I think he's much more nailed of a starter than someone like a Vardiel or Kyle Walker. And then for Petrovic, he's the only other one I would go for, aside from Gusto, who is now, according to what we know, not ready for the double in 35. So I just go without Gusto, have Petrovic, and be done with the Chelsea defense that does not seem to be very good as well. So just having Petrovic there is perfectly fine, and he's also the keeper that you would start in 35 because of the double here, but I'm really not expecting him to get too much, probably some save points here and there, but that's pretty much it. So there we go with the Gameweek 35 wildcard. Let me know what you guys think and how your draft looks. I know very well that some players here are slightly different, but I think let me know what you think of my thoughts around these different players. And I think I would generally go slightly different from the template. I wouldn't want to play it so safe for the last few game weeks because there's only, as I said, a couple of game weeks left. Try to go different in some places that you think you can go different and make some last minute rank jumps, because that's kind of what we play for. This last few game weeks, the run-in is where all the opportunity is going to come. So let me know what you think of the draft, what changes you would make, how your draft looks like. But if not, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did enjoy it, please do drop a like and also subscribe as well if you are new around here. And I'll catch you guys in more Game Week 35 content. The deadline stream will be happening 3 hours before the deadline tomorrow. So I'll see you guys there, and thank you for watching. Bye bye.